Well, there's 7 of them, and I'm pretty sure we just won 7 in a row. I'll talk about them in a little bit, but it's kind of become a tradition to say something after, and it really just started with me and the kids, and then everybody started kind of joining in, and I think Mark Escalante is more interested in this than anyone else. And I really don't plan much of what I'm going to say because I usually just want to talk to them a little bit, and I thought maybe this year it was just, hey, we'll see you at the award ceremony, but this morning after practice I went over to our local cemetery and did some running and began to reflect on some things, and I want to just throw a few things out there that I think are important, and then I want to talk about these guys, and then we'll go to the award ceremony. And as I was running in the cemetery, I make it a habit to look at the headstones and see how many of the names I recognize, and I also take a look at how long they were on the planet and then how long ago they passed. And this morning I passed. If you need to sit, you can. This morning I visited a couple while I was running, and here's my thoughts a little bit. I wondered about the people that had lived and died in our community, and I wondered if they were happy in their life, and I wondered if they were content, and I wondered if they lived their dreams. Did they pursue their passion? Were they at peace? Were they bitter when they passed? Or were they fully alive? And what did they contribute? And how much did they contribute? And were they at peace with what they contributed? What did they do for the community? I thought a lot about that. I stopped at Coach Jones's grave, had a conversation with him that'll remain between us. I stopped at Coach Gertis's grave. And so as I'm doing that, a couple people come to my mind that I want to honor and I want to thank before I talk about these kids. So I hope you got a couple minutes. But I want to start with my parents. My mom's as good as they come. She's the epitome of what a mom's supposed to be. Always loving, my #1 fan, fiercely loyal, don't mess with me or my brother. You will see the claws of God.
50 to 75.
Awesome. I knew that already. I never left the house without breakfast, and I didn't have to get it myself. I never left the house in a shirt or a pair of pants or socks that hadn't been washed and folded by her. And yes, I did wear underwear, but we'll leave that out. My dad. One of the greatest compliments I've ever had in my life from my dad. He told me not too long ago, he said, "You are different. You are a rebel. And you're borderline crazy." But he said, "You're smart. You know when to sit down and shut up and listen and learn." It's about as accurate as it gets. My dad took me to the state track meet when I was in 8th grade with 2 friends, and I walked through Memorial Stadium, I saw the lights, and I watched the races, and I was in heaven. And I told my 2 buddies, I said, I'm gonna run here before I graduate, and you're gonna come watch me. And they started laughing. My junior and senior year, I ran at the state track meet, and those 2 guys sat right where we were sitting and watched me. Dreams are funny. They really are. My junior year at the regional track meet in Kingsville, Texas, I ran the mile and I won. I qualified to state first time. I broke the regional record. And I'm sitting on the infield and I'm delirious. I can't see, kind of like Peyton is right now. I was just like that. I could barely make out stuff. And I look over to my left up in the bleachers and I see this human being hurtling himself down the steps. He jumps the rail and lands down on the track, and I'm going, you can't do that. That's illegal. And I'm thinking, that looks like my dad. There's no way. There's no way, one, he can hurdle the bleachers, and no way he could land without falling. And this individual begins to run at me, and I have deep concern, I'm not sure. And lo and behold, it's my father. And the officials are trying to usher him off the field, and he blows past them. And he finds me. And he hugs me. And he tells me he loves me for the first time in my life. It's hard for him to do. He grew up where you don't say that, you don't hug. So this running thing's kind of big for me. He's since said it a lot. He's softened. But that was everything for me. So when I first got into coaching, I've never told anybody this, but I'll share it with the community. One of my goals was to maybe somehow take a kid and through coaching him, have his dad maybe walk a little taller and a little prouder about his son, and maybe eventually cross the line and tell his own kid that he loved him. That's been a goal. It's been a goal. When I was 23, I took the job at Luling. I was hired by Coach Gertis. And we're coming home from Sunday dinner. And I looked over at my parents and I told them, I'm going to be the first coach to win a state championship at Luling, Texas. And they looked at me somewhat supportive. And they said, have you told anybody else that? You might want to keep that to yourself. I said, I'll do it. See, what happened was I just got on this tear and wouldn't be denied. And while my coaching buddies were out drinking and dancing and partying on certain nights, I was home in the living room on the floor literally trying to sort papers and figure stuff out. I was on the telephone with coaches all over the United States. I was reading books and magazines and talking to anybody that would talk to me, trying to learn. And that's a legitimate truth for years. Coach Gertis set me on my way. I'll tell you a story about him. He's a good teacher and a good coach. 7th grade year, I'm playing basketball. Only God knows why. There's 15 guys on the team and I'm on the bench. We're playing Hayes Consolidated in Hayes, and in the third quarter, it's 44-2. We're losing. This is no lie. We're getting pummeled. He used to tell coaches, this is what he'd tell opposing coaches, we're small, but we're slow. Ringing endorsement. One of the greatest motivational speeches I've ever been given and heard. 5 words. Halfway through the third, he is ticked off. He is mad. He's already been teed up. I mean, he's mad, and we're getting killed. And he says, Michael. He's one of only 2 or 3 people my whole life that call me by my real name. Michael. He never called me Mike. Michael. Now, my mom's called me Michael, but it usually had my middle name after it. That meant I was in trouble. It's rare, but Michael Stephen, I'm in trouble. But Coach Gertis said, Michael. And so I run down there and he says, all he says is this: we're getting killed 44-2. He took 4 words, he made them 3. He said, give them hell, Michael. Give them hell. I knew what that meant. So in I go. I'm the defensive enforcer, guys. In a minute and 45 seconds, I had stopped the clock 5 times. I had fouled out. So I was motivated by his give them hell. So I come to the sideline. He gives me this knowing grin and a wink, and he says, attaboy. He was proud. He gave me permission. And he was proud. He affirmed me in my effort. And I've never forgotten it. He hired me. And he mentored me. And he corrected me. Coach J.B. Mitchell came to Luling when I was a freshman. Told me to go run for 15 minutes. Do it every day for a week. And there was something about the man. He loved me, and I knew it. He gave me magazines to read in class when I finished my work, and I read them cover to cover, including the editorial, all the copyright stuff, the stuff nobody reads. I read them all. I read the ads. I read everything. And he jumped my rear end one time about confidence and a lack of it, and it hurt my feelings really bad. Because he never been mad at me. But I didn't go home and cry to my mom. I just considered the source and figured out probably he was right. And I got better. Coach Mitchell would wear Spider-Man t-shirts. He was old. He'd wear Spider-Man buttons on his hat. Back in the day, we had jam boxes. And everybody had their own jam box. And Coach Mitchell got tired of hearing everybody's music on the bus, so he went out and bought his own jam box. He got on the track bus with it. He had Willie Nelson 8-track. He goes, this is what we'll be listening to from now on. So we listened to On the Road Again. To and from every track. Coach Mitchell believed in me. Believed in me. Coach Marshall Sellers, and I hope he sees this if this gets on Facebook. He had a clinic up in Hamilton, Texas, and I fully expected there to be 100 people there, and I walked in, there were 5. And on top of that, his presentation materials were literally cut out cardboard box flaps with Marks-a-Lots and duct tape, and he had it all over, and I thought, this man's crazy. But when I sat down and I listened to him, he was uniquely different, and I knew I'd run into something that was going to change me. And I knew he had what I had been looking for years. And if it weren't for Marshall Sellers, I wouldn't still be in education. I was going to get out. And what he gave to me and what he continues to give to me has been invaluable. And I don't know how to thank him or Coach Mitchell or Coach Gertis or my parents enough. But as I reflected on the people in the cemetery, I just wanted to honor a few people that have had an impact on my life. And there are countless others, but their impact is great. And again, I go back to the cemetery. Those folks, I wonder if they could come up out of their grave and they could stand here. I wonder what they would tell us all. I wonder what they'd say. I know one thing they'd tell you to do. They'd tell you to find out what it is you really want to do and go do it. Because that's where the DNA is, your life. You got to live. You got to start feeling life rather than just feeling things about life. You got to really feel it. And if it doesn't do that for you, quit. Do something else. They'd have a lot for us. I wonder if they had regrets. We should have no regrets. That's the goal. No regrets. This bunch right here standing in front of you, it's the best team I've ever coached. They are hands down the best athletic team to ever represent our school and our community. There's none better. They are one of the best small school teams in the history of the state of Texas. They inherited the tradition of the long green line, and they just improved it, enhanced it. They weren't intimidated by it. Everybody that's run before them has contributed, but they just took it somewhere else. They got together in the spring and they made some decisions, and they were true to those decisions. They got together again in the summer and reaffirmed their commitments to one another, and they were true to their decisions. Not a single classroom issue out of this bunch, or the alternates, right here. Not one classroom issue, not one teacher contacted me about them. Not one grade issue, not one disrespect issue in class. Nothing. Every day on time for practice. Picking each other up for practice if need be. No complaints. Complete humility. Never have they demeaned an opponent. Never have they bumped their gums about somebody. Never have they downed an opponent. They respect everyone they run against. They're kind. They're humble. They're gentle. They're fun. They were playing toss the bottle tournament over at the bus before we warmed up. Cool as cucumbers. Just being kids. But I'll tell you what, when it's time to compete, when it's time to train, they transform. They're tough as hell. They're about as tough as I've ever seen out of our school. They are tough. And they're unafraid. 110 miles a week, I can do that, coach. I'm serious. It's a mentality. I don't know if I could ask to coach a better bunch. I'm gonna try next year. But that's the standard now. And our school just accomplished something that's never been done. It may I don't know. Records are meant to be broken, but I'll tell you what, unless you've run cross country or coached it, you have no clue how hard it is to win. You have no clue. It is without a doubt the most difficult sport there is to win at. You just win district, that's pretty dang good. But state, and to do it over and over, guys, it's difficult. It is difficult. Everybody's got to be good, don't they? On the right day, right? Every time, right? I don't know what else to say about it. That's the best we've ever had. Ever. I'm going to say thank y'all for coming and watching, supporting them, loving on them. Parents especially, thank you for coming out and watching practices, for crying out loud. Thank you.
All 4 years I ran, and I've been as an average teenager, getting in trouble, getting into drugs, everything as a teenager, like that would. And when I was able to get with these guys and actually see what I had in my hands, every one of them motivated me. It's not a team to me, it's my family. I wouldn't have changed myself. They wouldn't help me. Coach wouldn't help me. I don't know where I'd be. Everybody made me the person I am today. And I want to have no one else to be on this race. Training every day. And these guys, I'll do anything for them. I die for them. I die for Coach. I just want to thank all of y'all for this long ride, the better ride. I thank you, Coach, for the life you give me.
Proud of you, Isaac. Good job, baby.